I'd like to start with a question. Where were you 1 week ago today? Well, I can tell you where I was. I was sitting in the car with my 2 children for over 9 hours, trying to drive a simple 4 miles home. You might be asking yourself, what does this have to do with Common Core? The morning of the storm, I had a gut feeling that told me not to send my kids to school. I called and asked if there were early dismissal policy, shocked to find they had not received any information. I spoke with family and friends who told me that I was too worried and paranoid and they wouldn't have school if it was too dangerous. Well, I ignored my motherly instincts and all the warning signs, and I sent them anyway. Just a few hours later, I was back picking them up early, only to sit in traffic to try to make it home in our small community. Nearly running out of gas, cold and scared, I comforted my children, letting them know that we were blessed to be together. Now, as it relates to the storm, there's not one person or political party that can necessarily take the blame. Maybe you can't point to the governor, mayor, or superintendents. These guys ignored all the signs too. They probably told themselves this threat happens all the time. I don't want to be perceived as panicking. And in the absence of action, the system failed. So in both instances, myself and our elected officials displayed normalcy bias. What is normalcy bias? Well, it describes the mental state people enter when facing a disaster. It causes us to underestimate the possibility of a disaster occurring and results in situations where people simply don't prepare, or on a large scale, the failure of government to include failing its populace in a disaster. With normalcy bias, you assume that since a disaster never has happened, then it never will. Therefore, interpreting warnings in the most optimistic ways. Does that sound familiar? Well, I'm here today to tell you that there is a storm and it's descending on the state of Georgia. It's called Common Core. We are already seeing warning signs, such as students struggling to understand the reinvented fuzzy math and parents frustrated because they can't do anything about it. Like the parents who walked 12 miles in sub-zero temperatures last week to get their kids, we parents are rising up to save our children's futures. Parents, it's imperative that you know what's going on in your classroom. Research the Common Core, not just the Department of Education's talking points. I'm telling you firsthand as a parent, the Common Core is a disaster. We can't continue normalcy bias thinking on this. It's unproven and untested. Let's not continue to put our faith, trust, and our children's lives in the hands of a big government education nightmare. Abraham Lincoln said it best, the philosophy of the classroom in one generation is the philosophy of government in the next. Lawmakers, the people's representatives, you've asked to hear from your constituents. Well, here we are, parents, grandparents, teachers, school board members, asking you to support Georgia's withdrawal from the Common Core. It's not too late. Parents, both Democrats and Republicans, are coming together, putting our differences aside and putting our children first. We are not accepting the normalcy bias. Don't continue to ignore the warning signs of Common Core as it destroys our children's future. We are looking for truth, and we ask that you do the same. Please stand with us and stand for our children.